All right, it's Rabbi Son, and we're going to talk about anti-Semitism online. And this is a shout out to all of you TikTokers who like to post anti-Semitic comments in our videos. Yeah, that's the thing.
They do.
Some of them are, it's the spectrum, right? Of like, being critical of certain topics, and then it becomes like a bit of a, okay, yeah, let's all agree with that. And then it's, yeah, let's agree with the people who agree with those people. And then it's like, wait, Jews are evil. Like, it just, like that's it. And that's like a game that I play now when I read the comments on anything, which is called, and this is a game you can play at home. It's called Wait, the Jews. Okay, so here's this game, Wait, the Jews. So any topic, I don't know, pick something. What's something that's like just something you saw online today? Doesn't have to be political, religious, whatever. Just like, what's a thing you saw today online?
What did I see online today? A lot of testimony from Congress.
Okay, so Congress. Who runs Congress? Special interest groups. Which special interest groups? AIPAC, therefore the Jews. So it's always, wait, the Jews. So this is a game. Any topic, anything online. It's like 6 degrees. Is it 6 degrees or 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon? I can't remember what that used to be. But yeah, it's like 2 degrees of Jews on everything. Yeah.
I mean...
Any topic, anything, Javon.
Huh.
Anything.
Not just like, what are we talking about that's like so, But, what I don't have to understand is, I guess, the case. It was the point.
What do you have to understand?
Yeah.
About anti-Semitism online?
Yeah, because, certainly, I don't think we have delved. I don't think we've delved into any, serious topics recently.
Yeah, we've been keeping it lighter.
Yeah.
A lot more like Reddit, AMA type stuff, things like that. Okay, well, so Netanyahu was interviewed recently, and he was talking about anti-Semitism, and his whole thing was the increase in anti-Semitism is directly related to China, Pakistan, a few other countries that have basically bot farms. And on these bot farms, you have all this anti-Semitic content that's, and anti-Israel stuff that's just flourishing, right? Now, here's my thing. We don't get political. We're a nonprofit, whatever. But my thing about that comment that he made about how it's all about online, right, was almost immediately after he said that, he's in an interview, right? He immediately follows up with, I'm not saying we should ban people from being able to talk online. I'm just suggesting that's where a lot of this stuff comes from. Okay, it wasn't that long ago that there were certain Jewish nonprofits that were saying that were on board for the TikTok ban thing, right? Like, to the point that I remember producer Kaylee had to make a video for us about if TikTok gets banned today, here's where our Instagram is and stuff like that. And so I think it's interesting that he was like, I don't think that, it's not the platforms or people being able to use them. It's just the fact that it's just where these things exist. So I think it's interesting. Prime Minister of Israel, not into the TikTok ban.
I would just say you banning something doesn't really stop it.
No.
And then you just have to realize it really is the internet. And the internet's not a real place. And of course, what's not going to persist on the internet?
Right.
What hateful thing is not going to persist? When ugly people can hide behind, any random profile and just harass people all day because they're, losers who have no life.
Yeah.
Which is if you're on a, side of the harassment, you're like, who, this is, weirdo. And then, you could just be like, wow, there's some weirdo that needs, something to do every day. So,
right.
I guess you have to hate on me, but I guess you're alive because of me. So, I really want
Wow. That's an amazing thing to consider. If you're a person who's being trolled online, the one positive thing you can take out of that is that, someone at least was motivated enough to live that day.
Exactly.
So that they could make fun of you.
Exactly.
Wow. That's interesting.
Just
there's always some kind of silver lining in every cloud, isn't there?
It's just
wow. Okay.
But
dang.
Come on. I don't know. Every time it does every time there's something that's China, rather than just, it could be public opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe some people just don't like you, Netanyahu, and you just keep, blaming it on,
It's a yes and, because we do know that there's bot farms, and we do know that, like, they're being funded and stuff like that. But that's also true of, like, it's not just anti-Semitic stuff or anti-Israel stuff. It's also, like, hackers and things like that.
Or just be really anything. Like, of course, it's just relevant, in society. So it's like, their foreign government is, adversarial government. Why would they not, pump that in?
Right.
Not that it had to be like, anti-Semitic.
Sure.
But
it could be anti-anything. It's just anti-Semitism is like a great barometer for what's going on in the world. Because once you start going after, like, Jewish people, it tends to mean that there's, like, a multinational issue at play.
But yeah, I feel like, I don't know, they're just in things that are incredibly politically relevant, that has, like, that, which, sort of kind of like, wouldn't, like, I wouldn't say, like, persist in, like, the national conversation, but it's just like, you do have, like, this interest group that, like, is now being pushed, like, not pushed, well, people are really seeing it as, like, what does this organization really do? And, like, continues, like, really to have our government, spend and send, and then the net benefit being you're safe, maybe. And that's our ally.
Yeah, right.
Or some religious reason that, it's like, okay, that has nothing to do with what's, like, really going on. Like, you have to, yeah. So,
well, religious alliance is sort of a weird thing, because you have the West Bank, which in theory would be very much aligned with, like, Muslims everywhere. You had, like, Mahmoud Abbas saying that, like, the persecution of the Uyghurs was not genocide. Right? So, like, sometimes these whole alliances things around, like, religion or culture get a little bit weird, where it's like, wait a minute, but I thought you were, and it's like, no, everyone's out for number one, at some point with some of this multinational stuff.
It's like, every country really is for, like, their country on top. But like to the point where, like, they actually want, like, show dominance, like, actual, like,
well, they're like companies, right? Like, you're trying to make as much money as you can, try to be as successful as you can. Countries have an obligation to protect their people. So yeah, like, you're always going to be competing against other countries, and you're also have to having relationships with them too. Like, it's kind of weird that way.
Yeah, why? I'm not gonna, like, say that this is happening, because I don't know if it's happening. Like, if China is dealing with the West Bank in some
business way or whatever,
some way,
right?
Then, like, of course, they don't want to say blah blah blah, but then it's just like, you really can't use people's sympathy to energize, like, your movement, and then just also, like, you're stepping on others to, like, step up, and it's just like, both are suffering,
right?
So it's just like, if you believe in, no one should suffer, which obviously isn't the case. It should be, who's going to get us out of the situation faster,
right?
Like, then we're going to say, whatever we want to, whatever we can say to, like, get that help that we need,
right?
Which is really, like, it is mixed messaging.
Yeah, it is mixed messaging. Like, yeah.
Well, this is just a whole mess.
Right.
And then you just get, continued problems that you had yesterday.
Right.
And, 10 years ago. And so on. That will persist.
Right.
Because, people.
Right. The joke of taking a history class is that you learn history so that you don't repeat it, but actually we repeat it all the time.
Literally.
Yeah, like that is what we
actually sad.
We like, as human beings do that.
It's that's why I hate when people say like, you don't be worse than animals. Like, we're better than animals. Okay. Animals don't kill unnecessarily. Well, I would say, cats, because they're like, the devil's creatures.
They kind of are, yeah.
But aside from that, like, an animal is not just going around and just like, eating everything for eating everything purposes. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like, at least animals have like, some decorum. Like, they're not
some decorum.
At least they're not, they're not trying to like, tear things down. And it's just like, you have to exist. This is the ecosystem. Like, let's just flow in the ecosystem rather than just like, trying to eliminate groups from the ecosystem because you are fighting over dirt. I don't know. I'm just like, yeah, I just can't wrap my head around that.
Like why people go to war for territory?
I mean,
or why we're worse than like, animals?
No, like the whole
because animals fight for territory.
I mean, I'm just like fighting over land. Like it just like it comes to a point where it's like, is it really worth like that? Like not only is it just worth it? Like the whole everything that goes into it, and it's just like the mental cost, right? Because like I don't know, I was seeing something. I was watching a clip on Twitter, and they were talking about like the U.S. Iran yada yada yada,
yeah,
and like the multiple questions as it relates to multiple things going on.
Okay,
I'm being vague because I really don't remember.
Okay,
the specifics. I'm not being vague because
right. Like, yeah, I get it.
But then it was like they were like having some disputes, like the conservative and like the liberal were having some disputes, and then the conservative was like you should like it was like the U.S. the different wars and how like blah blah. I mean, purposely, I can't remember it. But ultimately, the more important side was, the argument was like, you should feel like, grateful that, people went to go sacrifice, so that you could have freedom. And war is a necessary, vehicle for freedom. Right?
Okay.
War is necessary for freedom.
Okay.
Yes, obviously.
Right.
In some cases, when like, people who go into an area, who take over an area, who colonize an area, don't want to leave, and those people, feel like, so yes, war. But then I just feel like, I think you're also like not accepting the fact that war is also very like psychologically dangerous. And like don't know how I ended up on this, but I was on TikTok, and then it was talking about the Vietnam War, and then whatever we're doing a tour in Vietnam, and like seeing the different like during the Vietnam War, all the different like things that we used and whatnot, and I'm saying like I could get why people like if you had to make like serve 365 days in Vietnam, with the possibility of like if you leave early that you have to restart your entire 365 days over,
right?
And then you're like hearing people say your boss sent you here to die and you don't even know why, like, and you just have veterans who are actively still dealing with that,
right?
And then they're not getting help. So it's like, how you gonna tell someone they should be grateful when it's like you're not even grateful to the people who you sent over there, like they're suffering,
right?
Like war is damaging to the mind,
right?
And that's like the worst thing that could come out of it. More like that's what I'm worried about, like with any conflicts, like the aftermath, because now people have to come back and be in society,
right?
And then figure out, how to be back in society. And they already have a government that showed you that we can go into this conflict, but after that, it's like, toodaloo, best to you.
Right.
And it's just like, sometimes it's just, I just don't understand, people. I get like, this is your home and whatnot, but then it comes like, especially when it comes to like colonialism and the effects of colonialism, once, its influence is like gone from that area, and then you see that, that land and the way borders were drawn is unrealistic to like the actual people there.
How do you
like,
mean?
You just went up there and you just cut it up,
right?
Like with no regard,
right?
To whomever, because you don't really care about those people. You're like, we're conquering,
right? It's a
join
rock,
us or
Jordan,
die, pretty much, and it's just like, I mean, this is just like not Israel-Palestine conflict,
sure,
because I feel like that's just a conflict that just so happens to perfectly, be representative for what I'm talking about, but also like African countries,
sure,
all these places, and I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like rather than like fight over it, let's just like figure out the best option, then like, the more destructive alternative,
sure,
that ultimately could, go on,
sure,
for much longer.
That's why I kind of feel like with a lot of these countries that have dealt with colonization, which Israel has, I mean, if you think about it, Israel, that land, that area has been colonized by somebody, the last group being essentially the British, millennia, right? And I think
that essentially the British, or it was British.
Well, the British had the mandate, so it was after World War I. So the British basically have the mandate to run what is now Israel, the West Bank, and then all through what was called Transjordan. Okay, and so then when the Brits basically say, "Okay, we're done with this. Like we're not running this thing anymore," that's when you have the partition plan, which was supposed to be a separate space for the Jews and a separate space for Arabs. It was separate, like actual countries. And it's actually kind of weird, like how the country was sort of like basically a sliver, like it was cut in half, but you had Gaza, right? So it's kind of like not in thirds, but it's kind of three pieces. And so basically the Jews outright accepted it. Like, we'll take it. Like, however you want to chop this thing up. And the land that the Jews accepted was technically by land mass larger than what the Arabs would have gotten. And I don't remember the exact number. I think it's like 55 versus 45, something like that. Now, never mind the fact that a bunch of that land was like malarial swamps, right? It wasn't, the best pickings, right? But if you want to be factual, you do have to admit that there was a slight gain. Now, the reason why is because of the belief that once you establish the Jewish state, you're going to have so many refugees who are going to be coming in that you're going to need to put them somewhere. So you're going to have land available to those people. Whereas for an Arab state, you won't have refugees who are like flooding in from all of these other countries to come live in, Palestine or whatever it would have ended up being called. So that's kind of how that played out. And then you had the creation of this country called Jordan. Okay. Now, the weird joke of history is that if you look sort of ethnically at Jordan, huge Palestinian population, right? So, if you want to talk about, is a Palestinian state, is that where Palestinians live? Like, is that a Palestinian state? Well, then by that measure, you have to look at Jordan, right? You have to look at both the East and West Bank at that point, right? And you have to look at the fact that Jordan is ran not by anyone who's from that area, is ran by the Hashemite kingdom. So basically the Hashemite kingdom was like given the responsibility to be the royal sovereign of that area. So colonization right there, like just what you were talking about, like a foreign power that is brought in to control it through the Hashemite kingdom, being given the reins of Jordan. So, I think in an ideal world, there would be some way where Jordan would basically be able to say, like, okay, like we recognize ethnically we're dealing with a Palestinian population. But when people talk about Palestine, that's not what they're talking about. They're not talking about a peoplehood. They're talking about a particular piece of land. But even then, if you look at the borders, like at what time in Syria, Palestina, or Judea, Samaria, whatever, where do you want to draw those borders exactly? How far back in time do we need to go so that then we can say, oh, this is the land? So people will say, like, well, we want to be at the 1967 border. Okay, well, why not the 1948, right? If you believe like this is Palestine and you have a righteous claim, why are you stopping at 67? Why aren't you starting at 48? Well, why don't you go back even further? Why don't you go back to, basically, I think it would be like the 6th century, sometime like that. Like, so that's where you're right, where foreign powers came in and said, okay, here's how you have to do this, right? We're going to have this country called Jordan, Iraq, the two-state solution, which the Jews accepted, the Arabs fought back, the Arab countries invaded to stop the state of Israel from even forming. But at some point you do have to sort of say, okay, we do need borders. We do need a contiguous landmass to call our own. What's that going to be? And what are we willing to give up in return? Right. And I am not smart enough to know what the answer to that is. I think personally that a lot of these countries that were chopped up and given to people to settle historic dispute, they're too big. Like there are these huge land masses with lots of different kinds of people. And what would actually be fairer would be to look at the history of populations and to say, like, okay, Iraq has all of these different ethnic groups, Iran, wherever, Syria, Lebanon. Maybe what would be fairer is instead of having something like 250 countries in the world, maybe we need like 600. Like maybe we actually need to like chop up a little bit into smaller pieces. Maybe we need more like city states, or maybe we need more like provinces that have like a confederation of some kind, like Canada or Switzerland or the United States for that matter. So that people can have more of a sense of their community, their people, their history, and having local control over their lives, as opposed to this imposing of a European American understanding, which is like, no, the country is whatever the borders are, and whatever people are in it, it doesn't really matter if they have any history in common or anything like that. It's just kind of a construct. And I think that's kind of what has happened with some of these colonization issues, is that there wasn't a sense like what they tried to do with a two-state solution, which was, okay, here is a peoplehood who have a history and a connection to land. Here is a people who have history and a peoplehood and a connection to land. Okay, we can see where that makes sense, and we can figure out a way to work that out. Instead, it's just like, okay, let's draw a big old, rectangle. Okay, now this is a country that exists. Have fun. Like that has not worked well, unless you have monarchies and like things like that.
Well, the state of the world.
Yeah, state of the world.
I mean, yeah, that's really... Yeah. I don't know. I think people should be better, but...
Yeah, here's hoping.
Continue to hope.
Yeah.
I would not hold my breath because, different book, different characters, same writer.
Wow. Woof. All right.
No, I just feel like, because, come on now.
Yeah.
It does get to a point, where you should be tired.
You mean tired of war and conflict?
Yeah,
and stuff like
tired?
That. Yeah.
And then it should be...
I think a lot of people are in a lot of places. It's just, what's the exit strategy from that? If you're constantly worried that someone's going to kill you, like at what point do you say, I'm just getting a little tired. I'm just going to lay down my gun. You know what I mean? Like, there's no incentive to pursue that.
I mean, well, at that point, you might as well just go ahead and like just blow both of you up. So now you guarantee that you can survive. You won't be alive, but
yeah,
that's also not a threat anymore. I mean, like, where do you like? How much are you gonna go? Like, how far are you gonna go until it's just like, it's gonna be, you're gonna go do this, and then what just happened if y'all just keep fighting, fight, and then the numbers dwindle, and then what's stopping somebody else from coming in now?
Right.
And just completely doing away with both groups. Like, I feel like that's what people need to think about, like, especially like when we're talking about like, strategical points, like in wherever.
Right.
People didn't like, I say people, but like there have been conflicts where two groups have been fighting.
Right.
Internally.
Right.
And then someone else just comes in, sweeps the board, and then it's just like, well, you don't want that other person to have control. They didn't want you to have control. And now someone else that you never thought of is just now in there. Now it's just like, now you're finding yourself on the same side of the person that you
sure, it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, but then it's like, once then you want to fight for, freedom. And it's like, once you get to that point, where are you next?
Right.
Are you going to go back to the same thing? Or are you going to figure out a solution?
Right.
And not saying that is the solution is for like, there'd be like a third, like, bad guy to be like, okay, let's clean up.
Right, unite people.
But
yeah,
it does get to a point where it's like, what's really going on? Like, are we going to stop this? It's going to keep going. And it's like, if it does keep going, how many people are really going to care in the end?
Right.
No one. No one cares about your story. No one's crying for you anymore. Here's another cycle, another story on the news, just another terrible thing that's happening. So ultimately, it's like, no one cares now. No one's talking about you. And then it's like, what do you really... I mean, I get you're fighting for, like, the land, but then, like, there's no support because no one really cares anymore. So it's just like...
Well, I mean, it's a little more than land. I think people fight for the survival of their peoplehood, their family, their religion, stuff like that.
I mean, yeah, but it's just like... Sometimes surviving means leaving. That's a form of preservation.
Yeah.
And, your culture can endure
but then
anywhere.
Okay, but we've talked about this before. Then why didn't Marcus Garvey successfully move, millions of Black Americans to Africa, right?
Well, one, I feel like that's like...
Which would have been, in theory, the safer option, right? To leave a place that your ancestors are not originally from.
I mean, but
you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, but neither were the people who brought us there. It's just like, what gives you more rights over this place? You came here. I came here. We both came here. We're not from here. It's more so, how can you tell me to leave when...
Well, I just mean from the safety strategy perspective. You know what I mean? Like, if sometimes safety matters more than the preservation of...
I mean, but we're saying preservation of culture. And Black American culture is different from... Like,
because it's a diaspora.
Say, and you can say, like, like...
Because it's not Africa and
but it's just like...
Right.
I don't really know that. Like... In Black American culture, it's unique. Like, it's unique in, like, a situation. But, like, the historical,
right,
multi-generational slavery, and then trying to build it like after slavery, and then Reconstruction, falling apart, then Jim Crow, and then like so it's like moving to Africa. It's like you'd have been like so disconnected from that. Like, so that's different. Like, you're like culturally in like a different, it's like you have, some spices may be the same, but like, the recipe's completely different.
Sure.
I feel like that's different.
Okay.
I feel like that's different because you're like, you took like, people came from this land, we're taking.
I do understand what slavery is.
I'm just like, I'm like, I'm just like trying to like emphasize more so, taking.
Okay.
On this, made to live here, made to be here, made to have kids. Those kids were then trapped. And it's like, okay, you've been here for generations now. This is all you know. So there is no, this place, this for your people. You never knew that.
I think
you only ever know,
right?
That in that fight, in that struggle. So I feel like it's just like, you brought us here. Now you're trying to tell us like you have just as much claim as I do, and more so like, the fight for it's just like a different fight.
Well, okay, so I bring this up because I had I wouldn't call it an argument because I don't talk long enough to people on the internet to argue with them, but I had a back and forth, I guess, with someone who was talking about colonization, and they were trying to sort of prove that Jews were colonizers. Okay, so back to the whole like, wait for it, Jews. And so this person was an American. And
what kind of American?
Just a white American of some kind. I don't know.
Exactly.
And they're like talking about colonization, whatever. And I said, okay, so let me ask you a question. So all people who are not indigenous to a place are colonizers. Is that the argument that you're making? And she basically was like, yes. I said, okay, so then that makes you and I, as people who live in America, colonizers. Like, do you believe that? I just want to make sure, because like you're on it's Instagram, right? You're commenting on each other. So like things can get lost in translation, right? And so I was like, okay, so is that what you believe? And she was like, yes, like that is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. I mean, it was almost like capital letters, like this is what I am trying to say to you. And I was like, okay, great. So then that means you and I are colonizers by virtue of us being here and not being indigenous to this land. You and I are colonizers. She said, yes. I said, okay. So I was like, okay, so what do you do with that? Like, if you and I are colonizers and you're against colonization, what is your prescription for that? And she said, well, this is why I amplify the voices of Black and brown people and indigenous people. And I thought to myself, well, thank God, because I'm sure there's someone somewhere who's very concerned that you're not amplifying a voice. Like, and by, and it's like, it's just such a privileged thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, because of course it was in the context of anti-Semitism and anti-Israel bias or whatever. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that like, your belief that the Zionists should leave Israel, like, that's a little bit of a heavier weight to ask of someone than, oh, if you live in America, just be a warrior on TikTok. And then it like absolves you of like being a colonizer, right? Like just the double standard to me is just so hilarious. Yeah, like you want an entire peoplehood to leave a country of which there is at least historic origin, to go somewhere else, where, by the way, they will then be colonizers, right? Because if you live somewhere that's not your place of origin, you're a colonizer. So, and I don't know what Black people should do with that. Are you not a colonizer if like you were forced to go there as a slave? Yeah, see, I guess, is that the theory?
Yeah, see,
like,
that's, and that was the one I was like,
are you a colonizer? You know what I mean? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think.
I mean, I guess that makes you an illegal immigrant. I don't know. Like, you can't apply these standards to people. It doesn't work.
Then they would say you're not like, illegal because no one can be illegal on stolen land.
Right, so right. So there's just this like, there's just But it's the double standard of you want an entire country to depopulate and for people to go be colonizers somewhere else, which theory is how that would work. But you yourself can continue to live in a studio apartment somewhere and just be like pumping away on social media and then go get ramen. You know, I mean, it's just like the double standard to me is hilarious.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it's like issues are too complex to just be like, you know, because like I just said, like, I mean, like the whole conversation has been,
right.
It's just been like too complex,
right,
of a situation. Too many hands have been in the pot, you know,
right.
Too much is going on, and I think sometimes people like oversimplifying it.
Sure,
you know, but also like, you know, yeah, you should not like, you know, this amount of destruction should not be happening, you know,
to anyone anywhere.
I feel like it's, you know, and it's just like, you know, I think amplifying, you know, Black, brown, and indigenous voices is commendable. You know, by commenting on social media, that's so enlightening. That's so bringing, you know, awareness.
That's really helping you. Like, just you as an individual. So, like, every time someone says something positive about the Black community, like, you know, an angel gets its wings. Like, I mean, I don't know.
It's just like it's just like amplifying voices, but then like it's like, what are you actually doing?
Right.
And like, I just want to know, like, what are you actually doing?
Right.
Like, you're just on the internet.
Right.
And like, this one, but like, internet's like a real place.
Right. Right.
Like,
it goes back to your original statement.
Yeah. Like, you're saying you're doing these things, but like, how's that coming like fruition?
Right.
What are you really
right.
doing?
What are you? Yes.
Like, are we?
What are you actually doing?
Like, policies? Are we like?
And what does that even mean to push a policy?
Yeah.
Like run for something. Run for, you know, you're so political, run for something. Or, you know, oh, you're so into social justice. You can actually go there. You can go to some of these countries you care about and like volunteer.
Like, or like, you know, I mean, you know,
or give them money.
You know, Black and brown and indigenous people are, you know, in this country, and you know, yeah, you see the news.
Yeah.
You know, and you amplify indigenous voices. You see, like, it's just like, I just don't ever give them like people be like that.
Yeah.
It's
like how much time have you spent on a reservation recently?
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, what story? Like, in order to amplify a voice, like you have to like know a story,
right?
You have to be telling it,
right?
Like you saying that,
right?
And like you being in defense of, like, come on, like you have to be in defense of something. Like you're saying, okay, yeah, like this is level of mistreatment,
right?
Okay. What are we gonna do about that? Like you're telling the people what they already know. Like you're telling people who are living in the system,
right?
That business is terrible. So
yeah, right. I'm sure that's really helpful.
You know, just like
describing water to a fish.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know. I feel like I don't go back and forth with people on the internet because it's stupid.
Yeah, you're smarter than
and
that.
I just, you know, people purposefully misunderstand.
Right.
Even when it's in writing, which, you know, it's hard to misunderstand someone when, you know, it's in writing and you reread it.
Right.
But it's just like, you know, yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I tend to attract straw men arguments where if I say like, oh, like I happen to believe it would be very, like, here's one of my things. I think it'd be very helpful if Israel and the Palestinian territories move towards a provincial system, because I think that people having more control over their lives. Like I was just watching this video about Bedouins, and there's this whole thing of like unrecognized towns, right? And it's in my opinion, it's because Israel has a very heavy national government. And yes, there are like towns and mayors and villages, whatever, but like ultimately everything's about approval. Like everything's got to get approved by somebody. And, you know, a top-down government isn't as nimble as a bottom-up one, right? So my argument is, like, it would be to the betterment of both societies if there was a lot more localism, local control, whatever, right? So I posted this, like this person that wanted to fight me on the internet, and I said, you know, would you agree to something like that? Would you think that that could be helpful? And they said, well, no, what you're really saying is, I'm like, how do you know what I'm really saying? Like, I've just told you. I told you what I said. And it was like, what you're actually wanting is. And so I commented back and I was like, we're not even having a conversation because you're going to take everything I say, turn it around, and make it your thing. Like, you're not asking me questions about that. Like I'm asking you questions about what you believe. You're stating back to me what you think I believe. So I told them, I'm grateful you can read my mind because I've never met an actual mind reader before. And then they were like, oh, well, this is just having a conversation. And if you can't handle a conversation, you're not much of a rabbi. And I'm like, well, what do I, and like literally when I saw that, I was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
How is this helping my family? How is this like doing anything for people I care about? Yeah. And I was just like done. I like took Instagram off my phone for like 3 days. I was like, I don't even want to be tempted to like look back at what this person had to say.
See, no, I just, like I said, like, that's that, like what I was telling you about the other day, about what's his name.
Sneeko and DJ Athletics. Academics,
not DJ
athletics. Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know, I just felt like, because I mean, like, even when like, that situation, I feel like,
right.
I mean, I guess it's carries over to, this conversation as well. Antisemitism and how, like, you're inevitably talking about one thing.
Right.
And then how, like, it curries all. The general thing is, it's this guy, Chud the Builder. Mm-hmm. That's his handle name. And I believe he's some streamer. And now, I don't watch Twitch. I just don't understand watching.
Right.
A person
people
walk
play
around
video games
and talk.
Right.
Like, that's just weird. But people do it.
Right.
Only judging a lot. But yeah. So he was going around Nashville saying the N-word.
Right.
ER. I mean, just really that. I'm like, but I'm like more so stressing, that part.
Right.
And like, so he's walking around Nashville saying it to people, saying it to black people.
Okay.
Saying it to white people.
Okay.
And being like, you should be a proud American. You should be able to say, whatever you want to say, and yada yada yada.
And this is a black person or a white person?
No, this is a white person.
This is a white person.
This Chud the Builder is a white male.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, come on, Chud the Builder.
I mean, I don't, sure.
Yeah, just imagine white male, muscular.
Okay.
Mustache, mullet, cowboy hat.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Saying the, ER capital N.
Exactly. Walking around saying it, so like, and like, he's harassing people, these people are like, get away, get out of here, saying that, like, it, like, and then he's like, don't you believe, blah, 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 and then, like, they're like, no, we have black people in our family, like, you should not be saying that, like, just being a decent human being, and then, like, harassing people, and then it's like, he's provoking people.
Sure.
And then, like, he's, like, open carrying.
Okay.
So then it's like, there's
a little sense of,
but then, like,
right.
Eventually he got arrested, but the whole thing started, Sneeko, another streamer.
Right.
Of, mixed race, happens to be half black.
Okay.
And then DJ Academics, who's black, who's, they both do Twitch.
Okay.
But the things they do are just, like, different.
Sure. Okay.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Having a conversation about, it was supposed to be a freedom of speech conversation.
Okay.
And so it was ultimately about, like, why do black people get offended by the N-word?
Okay.
And, like, that provoke, something. So, continue discussions. And then it was like, it really, like, if words are words and words don't matter, Sneeko, who is
half Filipino and half
black, Filipino, but, like, is a Muslim.
Okay.
It's like, I get everyone's on their spiritual journey, and I get, you're not supposed to judge people on their spiritual journey.
That's right.
But then it's just like, it is like,
is it Muslim or is it Muslim in this Andrew Tate sort of, way of just like,
I feel like,
is it like actual Islam, or is it like just I want to be misogynistic and this is now the new weird, which is really sad. It's this like new thing people are doing.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's that. I feel like it's all the, he was attached to these people, and then that whole like stream with all the, bad apples.
Right.
The Andrew Tates, the
right. So you just get kind of
like, the internet.
You get into that world, and so you're just becoming more of it.
Yeah, and then like that whole big stream happened with the whole them playing that, Kanye West song.
Right. Oof.
On the thing.
Man.
And then like, people feeling like, negatively towards the stream.
Sure.
And then, major backlash from it.
Right.
And then the same people that he went over there, going over there, people are saying the N-word. You are
right.
You're mixed race. You're allowing them to say it, and then they're saying anti-Semitic stuff as well.
Right.
You're hanging around these group of people, and then we got the backlash for it. It's just like those people ran and tucked tail, and then they left him out high and dry.
Right.
And then so he had been like, there was a whole stream, and then he became Muslim. I think people become Muslim, which is like, please, like, I get like a religion want to be like, encompassing and be like, welcoming. I really feel like religion need to be putting their foot down when it comes to like, these institutionalized, or these people who are like,
these major personalities,
like, and then they magically find God, and it's like majority of the time, it's Islam.
Interesting.
For what reason? Who knows? But I feel like some of these people need to be like, okay, I get we're all, different spaces in this journey.
Yeah.
But like, you just doing this for like a look. And, and I feel like, which is crazy, now I'm not saying this like all people, but I feel like, people feel like Islam like this dangerous thing. But then like other people say it like this, like really like, you don't like really, you don't really, I'm not gonna say, but like there's more peaceful.
Sure. There's more peaceful everybody.
Which is like, crazy. Which is like, the more you think about why people do things, and it's weird because like on one hand, like, people see it as like, the table thing, but then other people see it as like, there's like big spiritual things, so they do it.
Sure.
But then like you also make like a racist jokes.
Right.
Or racial disparagement.
Right. It's
like,
disconnection
how do you
there.
believe like see it as like this peaceful thing, but then also like this like destructive thing.
Right.
People are confusing.
Yes.
This is ultimately more so the whole point of
the whole conversation is people are confusing. And confused people eventually hate Jews.
Yeah,
and hate black people.
Yeah, so it's just like okay, but ultimately that was the point of them too, and so they're they're having a discussion, and he's like, well, black people should get offended by a word, and DJ Academics is like, well, it's really not about the words, it's about the history of the word and like the disrespectfulness of it.
Right.
All words are just words. But you don't say someone's mom is fat, and then like you go up to someone and say your mom's fat, and that provokes them into anger.
You understand that words have power.
Exactly.
Right.
And you being like, purposely like you purposely avoiding that and just saying words are words. It's just like, we know this. Right. But we also know that people in statements hold power. Right. And then, like, since he was, like, allegedly, Muslim, it just academic was like, just, okay, for the camera, since words are words, say F. Right. Allah. Would not say it.
Right. Because you understand the words have power.
You understand that, like, this is, you're just, like, being, like, this is not just a word. This carries
significant weight.
And I just feel like you ignoring that is like people aren't, just being sensitive. And it's like, okay, even when you do ignore it, it's like, why say it? Like, why would you, it's like, why, instead of asking why people are reacting that way, it's like, why would you say that?
Immaturity.
You just don't
it's
go,
just immaturity
like, you're just not going
right?
around saying slurs about just, like, every group. You're picking that one, you're going to a specific area, and then, like, then people are upset about it. You're asking, well, why did you do that? Why was your reaction like that? Why would you go there in the first place? Picking. It's like a bully going to school, picking with multiple kids, and they're like, who is this? And they jump them. And then the bully go home and cry. You shouldn't have been picking. Right. And then you should, like, your actions have consequences.
Right.
And that is the direct consequence. Leave people alone. Sometimes people just want to be left alone. Why does it need to be a public nuisance? Right. Yeah, no, like, honestly, last night I was taking, a political, like, what's your political affiliation? Oh, and then, okay. One of the questions was, it was about, protests and stuff.
Okay. Do you remember which one it was that you took? What test you took?
It's on my phone.
Okay.
Still, I believe.
Okay.
But, yeah, and I'm just like, one of the questions was, about protests and, whether or not there should be, harsher penalties for, people who block roads and, protests. Okay. And I'm just like, why would you sit in the middle of the road? On a highway.
Right. That's dangerous.
Yeah, and I was just like, wow, people are, I get you want to protest, but then it's just it comes to a point where it's it becomes a point where it's this becomes dangerous. Right. And it's people, I get that you want to have a voice, you want to voice your opinion, and I feel because I do feel people are feeling like their voices are no longer mattering.
Yes.
I know people believe that anyway.
We have more ways to communicate, and at the same time people believe that their voice matters less and less.
Yeah, and
which is a really disturbing thing to have to deal with, a cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, so I just feel everyone is always looking for what to be heard. And so people who aren't mature do childish things that they know is going to provoke people for attention. Yeah. And ultimately I feel this whole conversation boils down to people in their real lives are miserable, weak, ugly, so they take it upon themselves to go on social media and just be evil, nasty, so they can feel better. Well, so this ultimately comes down to people being insecure weirdos.
Okay, I'll meet you there.
Yes.
Insecure weirdos. Okay, so you're going to be heading out soon. We've got a few more episodes we're going to record. There's some more stuff in the pipelines, whatever. Very excited about your big journey. And
big journey is same journey, taking care of other kids in the woods.
At a camp. Let's just clarify, this is at a camp.
Yeah, I mean,
that could have sounded really weird.
Yeah, but the people should know.
They should know. Yeah, they have to listen to that episode where you talked about it.
Yeah. And why would I take someone's kids anywhere with me for an extended period of time? That's not our responsibility. Love kids though, just can't can't.
You don't want to be that responsible.
Exactly, and the kids at the camp, there's a way to for them to go home. And I do feel this most recent job is really, my patience has been tested.
Yep.
And I have been doing my deep breaths. Yeah. And I feel it's preparing me for
for going into the woods. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
It's better.
Yep. No,
you'll. I mean, ultimately enjoyed it. Not saying bad. Right. I am just saying though, I cannot be a teacher for young children. Teenagers, yes, always. Yeah. Young children, no. Okay. That's why I picked for this time around.
Right, you're working with the older kids.
Older kids. I am not. I will not.
Yeah.
I will not.
Well, and I think it's pretty cool too, because I think that you're giving back to kids whose backgrounds are different than yours because it's more like urban like environments and stuff like that. But kids who, had a rougher go of it in the beginning of their lives. And you get to relate to them in a way that I think a lot of other people don't. So I think that's pretty cool.
And, because I was like, telling people at work, because everybody acted like surprised I was leaving. But I'm like, I told y'all this when I got hired.
Right.
Like, this is not like a surprise, like, oh, he's just up and like quit.
Right. They just kind of forgot.
Yeah, and then it's like, it's not like I quit up out of nowhere. It's like, I put like a whole 2 weeks in.
That's right.
Like, it was not even a whole 2 weeks. No, it was, because it was the first of the month. And I said I was leaving the 20th. But that's like more than 2 weeks. That's like
more than 2 weeks.
The whole month, basically. So it's like, and it's not like surprising. But then I was talking to one of my coworkers yesterday. And I forgot, we were talking about something with me and like my growing up and whatever.
Yeah.
And then I told him I was adopted and he did not know that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was like, really? I feel like I say that all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, he didn't know that. And I was like, yeah.
Well, yeah.
I was like, how didn't you know? Because I be telling people, I promise you, everybody acted surprised I was leaving. I was like, I told you this though.
Yeah.
It's like I tell you stuff and it's like you just don't know.
In one ear, out the other.
Yeah, and it's like with these kids, I'm really worried about the staff. The kids, whatever. I can excuse children.
But the staff, we'll see how it goes.
Adults, people who are supposed to be reasonable and in charge.
Well, going back to issues of like immaturity, you find it online, you find it in person.
I'm telling you, like, it's online. You can get away from in person, dealing with day in and day out. We all know those people in life where like you just want to run into the wall,
right?
And just
call it at that point.
Yeah, chew on some drywall because dealing with them is more difficult. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. Well, you're going to have a great time. We have lots more content that's coming, lots of stuff down the pipeline. So, keep watching, like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And until then, Rabbi and Son. Thank you to our sponsors at Darshan Yeshiva for making this content possible. Darshan Yeshiva provides beginner-level online Jewish learning, including the very popular Conversion to Judaism program, with sponsoring rabbis and students all over the world. Start your Jewish journey any place, anywhere, and anytime with our conservative, reform, reconstructionist, Jewish renewal, humanistic, and post-denominational rabbi mentors. Become the Jew you always wanted to be with Darshan Yeshiva.